All right, chapter 10, section 3, we're continuing with probability. We're just going to look at a more specific type of probability in this section, which are two-way tables. If you've ever taken the SAT, you've probably seen a two-way table before. It's super common on SATs and ACTs. So we're just going to jump right into our first example. So it says a satellite TV provider surveys customers in 3 cities. The survey asks whether they would recommend the TV provider to a friend. The results are given. It says they're given as joint relative frequencies, but we're kind of just going to ignore that, and we're going to pretend that in this example, instead of the decimals, the decimals are not there, and we're just talking about like whole number of people. So I'm just changing it to just the numbers. So you don't have to worry about any of the relative frequency. I took all the questions like that off of the homework, so we're just looking at the actual number of people in each column. First, yes. First thing we want to do is we want to find the total of like each column and each row. So I'm going to have a total row here. And for the column Glendale, how many people total are in Glendale?
34.
Awesome. 34. 29 plus 5. What about Santa Monica? How many people? 30. And Long Beach? 36. So I'm also going to have a total column for yeses and for no's. So how many people total said yes?
56.
So 88 people total said yes, and how many people total said no? 12. So how many people total do we have?
Like all of them?
So we could either see, because this is the amount of total people, like where they live. This is the amount that said yes or no. So we're not adding them together but you add like either the row together or the column together, they'll add up to the same thing. So it's 100. Perfect. 100. All right, let's look at our questions. A says, what is the probability that a randomly selected customer who is located in Glendale will recommend the provider? So same type of probability we were doing before. It's going to be what we want over the total.
29 over 100.
So we have to be careful because it's not always going to be like the total. It will be like the sample space that we're looking at. So we just have to see what the question asks. So it's what is the probability that a randomly selected customer who is located in Glendale will recommend the provider? So it's a randomly selected customer who is located in Glendale. How many people total do we have that live in Glendale? 34. So 34 is our total. And how many of those 34 will recommend the provider? 29.
At the end, we'll get to put a fraction decimal.
Yeah, we could leave it as a fraction. Just make sure if you leave it as a fraction that it's simplified. And we can change it to a decimal here.
I mean, like, do we put like 0.29 over 0.34?
No. Because I changed the numbers here, so you're ignoring the decimals forever. You don't have to worry about those.
On the test, will we have?
Nope, you won't have decimals. You don't have to worry about it. So 29 divided by 34 is 0.85. And what's our percent? What percent? Perfect. So 85% of the people that live in Glendale will recommend the provider. Let's look at B. What is the probability that a randomly selected customer who will not recommend the provider is located in Long Beach? So we need to see how many people do not recommend the provider. What's the total that do not recommend? 12. And of those 12, how many live in Long Beach? Just out of the ones that said no, how many people live in Long Beach? 4. So it is 4 out of 12. The number on top will never be bigger than the one on the bottom, because then you would have like 100 or like 200%, something bigger than 100, and you're not going to have 200% probability for these. Can we simplify 4 over 12? 1 over 3. And what's the decimal version of 1 over 3? 0.33. And the percent version? 33%. And we're just going to ignore C. There will not be a problem. Any questions on these? All right, we have one more on the next page to do, and then we're done. Number 5. In example 4, what is the probability that a randomly selected customer who is located in Santa Monica will not recommend the provider to a friend? So we have a randomly selected customer who is located in Santa Monica. How many people total do we have located in Santa Monica? 30. 30 people total live in Santa Monica. And out of those 30, how many do not recommend the provider to a friend? 3. So we have 3 out of 30. Can we simplify this fraction? 1 over 10. What's the decimal version? 0.1. And what's the percent? 10%. Perfect. And then you're going to ignore question 6. You will not have one like that on the homework. You will not have one like that on the quiz.
But it's acceptable to leave it as a fraction.
Yeah, you can leave it as a fraction. You could leave it as a fraction, you could leave it as a decimal, or you could leave it as a percent, whatever your heart desires, unless it specifically says
Yeah,
one of the above. Yeah. Do you guys have any questions from the notes?